Constantine, Zatanna. Oh my.
Oh.
Welcome into issue 12 of Comic-Cast Video. Jong here.
Hey, it was Michael Carroll.
Thank you guys for tuning in. You can always follow us on Twitter. I'm at One Punch.
And I'm at Producer Mike 975.
And you can catch our audio version of this podcast on every major podcast platform. It's at Comic-Cast. Please tune in, hit subscribe, and leave a review on iTunes or whatever major platform you use for your podcasts.
Please do. It's easy.
Yeah, and today we're going to be talking about a rumor that was, I guess it was a report that was brought up by Mr. Jeremy Conrad at DCUmythic.com that ties into something that we kind of talked about on our audio version of the podcast, that is Justice League Dark. But today, or I guess it was reported on Monday, that Jeremy reported that J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot could be producing a new Justice League movie, and it's called Rebirth. And it had everyone's ears perked. It had my ears perked. Rebirth, I don't know if the timing is correct. And the report is that it's going to be debuting on HBO Max with J.J. Abrams. I'm always excited when more DC content comes, and it just brings up a lot more questions than it does answers for me. Obviously, does Henry Cavill return? If this is a separate universe, does Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot and Ezra Miller all be part of this project? If so, then who's the Batman? There's a lot of questions, and I almost feel like they may be spreading themselves a little thin with the multiverse angle. And if you're going to go with a different universe and you're going to be casting new Batman and new Superman, new Wonder Woman, is that too much for DC and Warner Brothers?
Well, if it is going straight to HBO Max, maybe it's something more catered to that service, and maybe you're not looking at folks like Gal Gadot. Maybe you're focused on a separate group of heroes, but I don't know how you do that and have Justice League attached to it. So, it might be a lot, but at the same time, again, like we talked about on the podcast, if you give me a good story, I'm completely down for it. I guess the big question is, do they get Gal Gadot? Do they get Henry Cavill? Do they get all these characters that have been introduced so far to reprise their roles in this movie? And then again, if they don't, is this another like multiverse movie? I don't know. It's like you said, there's a lot more questions.
And according to Jeremy, this is in the very early stages of development, and which means that they could be just talking about it, right? They could be just sitting around and shooting emails back and forth, and somebody contacted Jeremy and go, hey, Warner Brothers is actually talking in early development, which could mean just discussion about a Justice League Rebirth movie on HBO Max. And so this could mean anywhere between end of 2021, I would guess it'd be somewhere in 2022, when you already have a Flash movie out, you have your Snyder Cut out, so you don't have a Justice League content in the horizon. Maybe a Justice League Dark gets started up in late 2021, and that's the first movie out on HBO Max rather than Justice League Rebirth. It seems like what they're trying to do is they're trying to take what has been very successful in their comic iteration of their universe and expanding upon that with the multiverse idea, and just giving you these maybe one-off Justice League movies, and just featuring the same characters and voice actors from the animation department, and trying to do it in live action. And for the longest time, I told you that DC anime, too, and almost anybody that follows Warner Brothers and DC animated, that is the best thing they had. And obviously they're rebooting that too. And so it doesn't irk me that they're trying that route. If anything, I applaud them for going towards that route and having all these different content on HBO Max, something that you can use and something that you need subscribers for, right? And so the only thing for me is that the oversaturation of content that you're trying to divvy out to all your subscribers and people that are watching. So that's the only pause that I have. But like, I'm with you. If they can produce this correctly and if they can do it right, then I think they can. I think this is it's a recipe for success. My only other thing is, and we talked about this on our audio version of the podcast, J.J. Abrams. What does he like to do? He likes to pick up projects, start them, develop them. They're decent to good, and he just abandons it. We saw it with Lost. We saw it with the new Star Wars trilogy, and it's just like it's almost like he has like ADD where he like picks something up. He's like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then all of a sudden, oh, squirrel, and picks up another project. I hope if he does, he's gonna produce these, but if he does decide to direct some of them, that if it's a long multi-part series, that I hope he sticks with it. And if he's producing it, I hope he produces the entirety of this run, however long this is going to be. Because I imagine what they're going to be doing on HBO Max is they're going to give you these one-offs, and then they're going to give you the one-offs, but they're also going to build upon this universe through these one-offs, kind of like what Marvel kind of did with their cinematic universe.
Yeah, maybe I don't know if they would have all build with these standalone projects, because we've seen what they've done previously to that. Now, if it's anything like they're animated, going back to what you said about the animated part, I mean, their animated is so amazing. And if we get more standalone movies that are to the caliber of that, I think that would be amazing. I think they are realizing again the failures that they've had previously, and like you, I do hope JJ, because he is talented. I mean, I have enjoyed stuff that he's made. So if he is able to really influence the movie going forward, whether it's this movie or this Justice League Rebirth or Justice League Dark or whatever it is, really put his creative juices into it or be a vocal part of the creative team, I mean, I think you could have some pretty good content for HBO Max.
Yeah, and Jeremy also is reporting that if this were to be pretty successful, I guess he's more speculating that J.J. Abrams and Christina Hodson, who's going to be doing a lot of the writing, who was also involved with Birds of Prey, Batgirl. She's already involved with Batgirl and The Flash, and he's kind of speculating that these two could be the Warner Brothers. I guess this is describing a role now. It's either they're Kevin Feige, right? That they could be the big picture going forward and be the two that is leading the charge for DC and for Warner Brothers live action, and it could be for HBO Max and it could be for the big screen.
Yeah, Christina Hodson, I think she's done a great job so far. I loved her writing in Birds of Prey. I think they see something with her. It's like, we need to keep her around, and that's going to probably benefit them in the long run. She's really talented. I'm really glad she's getting these opportunities, because when she does have those opportunities, I think we've seen she does pretty good work. So. Mm-hmm.
And the other thing was that, and this was the first report was from Deadline like months ago in January, where they were like, oh, J.J. Abrams, Bad Robot, they're developing Justice League Dark. We got a little bit more traction not too long ago, where they're saying, hey, Warner Brothers is going to possibly bring back Constantine. And the other rumor was that Zatanna was going to be in development. So it seems like they're pushing towards the DC Dark, and with the Justice League Rebirth DC Dark, or I guess Justice League Dark, they're on track to do these one-offs and maybe combine them a little later. But with Justice League Dark specifically, the Constantine rumor kind of stirred up the whole Keanu Reeves. That was 15 years ago. That was in 2005. Didn't get great reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. I think the audience liked it a little bit better, but you're talking about 15-year difference between when they first released it and then in 2020, where Keanu Reeves maybe the biggest star in Hollywood. Everybody's been clamoring to get him back on the big screen after the success of John Wick and his cameos in Toy Story and Always Be My Maybe. He's these last couple of years for Keanu Reeves, he's been white hot, right? So it makes sense for Warner Brothers to revisit Keanu as that Constantine role. And in the audio version of our podcast, you brought up the fact that he's actually pretty old. He's gonna, by the time Constantine gets going, he could be 56, 57, right? And then the other name is Matt Ryan, who plays Constantine on all the CW shows and used to have a show on NBC. And so they're... It's funny because like Warner Brothers is doing more in the quarantine than I could have ever imagined, and like with these two projects that are essentially gonna get put in development pretty soon, or if you believe these reports that they're already in development, like it's perking my ears, my DC fandom ears up a lot, and I'm very excited for it, and I'm very excited for this Justice League Dark with Constantine and Zatanna. Them being introduced into this HBO universe, and I'm excited.
I mean, it's really exciting because again, it's a group of characters that we haven't really seen too much in terms of live action. Maybe do they bring back Swamp Thing specifically from their show on DC Universe? Do they bring that one back? Do they have Swamp Thing involved at all? Who is the character? Deadman, I believe. Mm-hmm. There's just so many possibilities of things we haven't seen from the comic book vault of DC. And I think this, again, opens new doors, opens new eyes to characters that probably a lot of people outside of maybe, like I feel like maybe Constantine is more of a name now with the Keanu Reeves movie and Matt Ryan and Swamp Thing. But Zatanna, I don't think a lot of people know about. Deadman, I know a lot of people don't know about. And, some of those other characters. It could open the doors for some really cool and interesting story possibilities.
Yeah, for sure. And this could, again, with Justice League Rebirth, which can they can build that universe for, at least a decade, right? Like if you cast new members of the Justice League and go forward that way, and then you have Justice League Dark coincide with each other. And, who knows, they could always do a movie together, a crossover together. I mean, it's a DC, or it's an HBO Max, or supposedly going to both be HBO Max properties. And so you can have, you could do shows with some of these characters, like you can move Swamp Thing over to HBO Max and sort out your issues that you have with I guess Louisiana, whatever you had, the issues that you had with that state, and then you can bring them over and do a show that with HBO Max. And then this could also, the Rebirth stuff could tie into the Green Lantern Corps that I've been clamoring for a while, and the rumor that Jeff Johns has been working on that project for years that we really haven't seen an update from. That could be tied into the Rebirth project, and you could have one-off Batman shows that are 4, 5, 6 episodes, and then tie into a Rebirth movie every couple of years. And there's a lot of possibilities, and I'm excited, and I hope that we get some legs going by the end of this year and the start of next year.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a while because, obviously we're still in dealing with COVID, and productions are starting to get going again, but who knows how long, if any, are able to stay for the full production. Stuff could get shut down again. I mean, like the Constantine thing, the rumor about that, if they were to start early development this year, you're probably not looking for it to actually get started until maybe 2021, early 2022. So then you're looking at possibly 2023 or 2024. So it's going to be a while for a lot of this stuff to come about. And but I'd rather them take their time with it and, like, again, learn from what you did previously because it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're starting to find their footing, so hopefully they've learned.
Yeah, and this is to build a foundation, a nice sturdy foundation for your streaming service for years to come. And Warner Media, I mean, frankly, they do have a lot of content that people want to watch, and this just furthers their, I guess their arsenal. I mean, you sit back and you look at it, and you have on HBO Max. It's kind of it's if you are a big Disney fan, HBO Max actually has fresher content than Disney Plus, and so you're the only thing that has people, not pulling that trigger is that price point. But that price point does give you these new content that you can watch day that it airs. It's kind of like HBO Go or HBO, what's the other one? The HBO Now, right? Where you can simultaneously watch these programs as they're airing. And so their footing is good right now, and this just furthers their bolsters their lineup of content that they have.
Yeah, you have to do that nowadays with the way streaming is, with everyone acquiring new IP. Amazon's acquiring new IP to bolster their video offerings. Disney Plus has a vault, but HBO Max has a lot of stuff to work with, and they gotta. I think they should lean into the DC comics aspect of what they own in terms of IP. Really lean into that. Really tell us some interesting stories. Because there's so much to pull from, and you need that to compete with the likes of Netflix and some of the other ones.
Mm-hmm. So that has been issue 12 of Comic-Cast Video. Thank you, guys, and if you haven't, please subscribe to the videos. It'll really help us out. Yep, down low, and leave us a comment and tell us what you're really excited for. If you're excited for the DC Justice League Dark, or are you more excited for DC Justice League Rebirth?
Yeah, which one? I'm excited for Justice League Dark, but don't let my opinion influence you.
Mm-hmm. And you can follow our audio podcast on every major podcast platform. It's at Comic-Cast. You can always follow us on Twitter. I'm at One Punch.
And I'm at Producer Mike 975.
Until next time.
See ya.